Factsverse presents. These yearbooks were printed and handed out to the whole student body before the teachers realized the photo error. Yearbooks are a huge part of high school. At the end of the year, the yearbooks come out and the students just can't wait to go through the book to see how many times they are featured in it. Yearbooks are also a great memento to hold on to for the rest of your life, allowing you to relive your high school years. Unfortunately, yearbooks aren't always perfect. The young man in this photo looks just like Peter Griffin from Family Guy, doesn't he? What makes this photo even crazier is that the boy's name is Peter Griffin. I mean, what are the odds? The student's quote here makes no sense because almost every word is misspelled and difficult to understand. What were the editors doing when this quote was turned in? Unless you grew up in the 80s, you wouldn't understand this picture. The laser in the background was considered cutting edge back then. Between that, the big glasses, the crazy haircut, this is clearly an 80s photo. Stephanie used a quote from Sex and the City in her yearbook. Sean, whose photo was right beside her in the yearbook, had the ultimate burn. You know the world has come to a dark state when you lower yourself to quoting Sex and the City. What a jerk! This boy obviously had to tell people all the time that the S in his name was silent, for obvious reasons. Apparently it was such a big deal, he decided to use that as his yearbook quote. Most students don't get dressed up in a tux for their senior pictures, but Bradley is not your typical student. His quote, which reads, "I like to listen to the wheels on the bus go round and round when I'm driving because I can relate to it," it proves that he is just a bit off. Connor isn't the most creative boy in school. When it came time to come up with his quote for the yearbook, he wrote, "I don't know, you can just put some quote in for me." He apparently did not want to do the work to come up with something, and neither did the editors. Kevin Chang's quote, "It shows just how rude he is." It reads, "It's not enough that I should succeed, others should fail." Apparently he is a future supervillain, so watch out, world. The student in this photo did not want to be himself, he would rather be a stormtrooper from Star Wars. It didn't bother the yearbook staff that he was wearing the mask, so they printed the photo anyway. Okay, this is one of the strangest yearbook photos ever. The boys' parents, they had to have been furious when they paid for a picture package just to get this. I'd be looking for retakes. This student did a lot with her quote. Not only did she explain how serious she is about making it in a man's world, but she also came out as a lesbian. That is a lot of information in one simple quote. This student quoted John Wayne, and he really did say this, but the editors didn't proofread it. Rather than writing "life is tough," they wrote "life is though." Oops. The serious expression on this student's face, it doesn't really match up with the crazy exclamation point-filled nonsensical quote. He may not be as serious as he looks. The teachers in these photos prove teachers, they can have fun too. John and Ian, they knew that they would be side by side in the yearbook because they've always been, so this year they decided to make it funny by making it appear that they were looking at one another. That is classic. These two boys knew they were going to be side by side in the yearbook just like our previous photo, but these guys took it a step further by eating a long sub. Loving it. Well, these are clearly kids of the 90s. The SpongeBob reference kind of makes that obvious. Rachel Banky needs a guide dog to get around. The yearbook editors decided that her guide dog, Taxi, also deserved a photo in the yearbook. Tell me that's not adorable. This student didn't want a photo in the yearbook, so he just went with this guy. Decades from now, people are going to have no clue as to who this really is. Mr. Eichen didn't want a photo of himself in the yearbook, so he just used his foot. What a clever way to avoid yearbook photos. Or maybe the students just always considered him to be a heel. Subscribe for more.